What's up, guys? I've been training for over 13 years, since I'm 15 years old, and there's 5 things that I would have done differently. And I'll tell you, if I would have to start all over again, what are those mistakes that I would avoid, and probably I would have got better results. Alright, so if you're new to this channel, I'm Sharif, natural bodybuilder, and I love making videos just to basically talk with you guys. Alright, so let's jump straight into it. Number 1, when I started training, up until I was 20, 21, 22, I was very much focused on the weights I was lifting. Alright, I wanted to be a power lifter. That was my first real goal. When I got into the gym, I fell in love with lifting heavy, with powerlifting, and I was pretty good at it. Alright, the deadlift, the bench, the squats, I loved lifting heavy weight. It just gave me a different feeling than just doing those high reps. Alright, but I ended up focusing so much on that it caused me a lot of injuries. Alright, my hip, my shoulder, my lower back, hips, knees, a lot of injuries that took me out of the gym for a little while, especially when we're starting. The form is not always 100% perfect. So what happened is that I was always kind of coming to the gym, but I wasn't really training optimally, just because all I wanted was lifting heavy weight. And even when I was injured, I kept going and I kept going, and I had this mentality of, hey, if what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So I just kept pushing through it up until I messed up my shoulder pretty bad, had to do an MRI, took a cortisol shot, and you name it, injuries really, I had to deal with a lot of them, especially in my earlier years. Alright, so one thing that I would change is, and I wish someone told me, hey, don't just focus on the weight, because you know, when you're just lifting heavy, you end up kind of meeting people that's their goal too. So it just ended up being a bunch of guys that only goals was ego lifting. Alright, so I would focus more on doing proper technique also, you know, proper technique, more reps, and not really necessarily focusing on the weights, but rather on the muscles, and making sure that I'm training as a bodybuilder as opposed to powerlifting. And that's why I gave up powerlifting. Just the risk of injury was so high, and I had to kind of keep bulking up to lift heavy weight, but it wasn't looking so good on me. Number 2, I bulked too much. Up until 23 years old, I don't think I've ever followed a diet. All I was doing was eating Subway, shawarma, stuff that I was working in the kitchen for a lot of years. Alright, I'm a professional cook. That's what I started doing. So I had access to a lot of food, and a lot of time was free. So I was just overeating of everything, thinking, well, you know what? I'll just turn that into muscles. I'll just eat more fries, more burgers, more hot dogs, more whatever, chicken wings. But next thing you know, I just got very fat, and I thought I was getting big, but in reality I was just getting fat. Alright, at a certain point you stop getting strong, you just start accumulating more fat, even if the weight's going up. And it did impact me a lot, because then cutting down was super hard, and when you start to get heavy, you're just not optimal to live anymore. Right, everything was so hard, and I bulked up to pretty high body fat percentage. That's one thing that I would never do again. Alright, for me now, more than 20% body fat, it's borderline, stop it there. Alright, I would stop at 18, 17, 20. It's not that I'm saying main gain or don't over bulk. The bulk is alright, but you gotta know when to stop. Alright, most people take it too far. That's the reality of it. And when they're bulking with fast food. Alright, they're bulking with Subway sandwiches and stuff like that, instead of really with high quality food. So that's another mistake that I did. Number 3 is cutting too much, because then I was so bulked up that I had to cut. So I went from one extreme to the other. I cut all my carbs. I started doing keto. I started doing just protein and veggies. Not even keto, no fat, no carbs, just protein and veggies. And next thing you know, it affected my hormones so much. I lost a lot of muscles, lost a lot of strength. So I did do a lot of yo-yo at the beginning, you know. And that's what happens when you have no knowledge, when you don't understand the foundations of training, and also when your goals aren't really, my goal was at the beginning lifting as heavy as possible, and then I'm like, oh, I'm fat, what to do now? Okay, I'm just gonna cut all the carbs and all the fat and just eat protein and veggies. So I started cutting too much, so I went from one extreme to the other. Alright, now I kind of find that sweet balance where I'm not gaining a lot I'm getting stronger, getting bigger, but very slowly, really gaining, where I'm maintaining my body fat, but slowly building up more and more muscles. Alright, and that's what I believe is ideal. You can do lean bulks where you're pushing your body fat percentage a little bit more, but don't overdo it. Alright, especially with cuts also. When I'm trying to lean down, I don't overdo it. I'm sorry if I'm moving a lot. I gotta go to the toilet, but I gotta finish that video. Moving on. Number 4, supplements. All right, I spent so much money on supplements. I used to go to the supplement store, $500, EAAs, BCAAs, creatine, HMB, protein, mass gainer, pre-workout, electrolytes, this, that. Guys, most of it is BS, all right? If you're eating a good quality diet, good quality food, you don't need all those supplements. Stick to the basics: creatine, protein, and pre-workout. That's all you need, pretty much, all right? Moving on, last one. I compared myself a lot with the fake natties. I never thought that I had a good body, seriously, up until my video went viral on Instagram. But before that, I'm like, well, I'm just a guy that goes to the gym. Hey, yeah, you look good. Well, yeah, that's good. I work out. Nothing crazy. But then people are like, whoa, this guy is natural. He looks amazing. But I didn't know that most of the people were lying and they were not natural. And I was comparing myself to them. And I'm like, hey, if this guy at the gym has that crazy shoulder, then I must be not doing well and doing something wrong. So I started kind of changing my things, training harder, eating more. Next thing you know, I'm eating like this guy that is enhanced, but I think he's natural. And I'm gaining body fat because I don't have all the PEDs that he's taking. So don't compare yourself. And that's a big mistake that kind of stopped me from doing content and giving people advices and putting myself out there, because I'm like, well, those guys are so much better than me. Why would people listen to me? But I didn't. Little did I know, those guys were not naturals and they were enhanced. So that's it for this video. Hopefully you liked it. Leave a like, leave a comment, share it with a friend, and I'll see you guys soon. Ciao.